For most of human history, different varietals of pants sat around the natural waist. On the other hand, today, most men wear pants with a low rise or low to mid rise. So what exactly caused the high-rise trousers to fall? We've identified 8 reasons. Now, before we talk about that, let's quickly look at why high-rise trousers were so popular in the first place. At the start of the golden age of menswear, the 1920s, basically all men's pants, trousers, slacks had a high rise. I myself have come to love high-rise trousers, but what are the reasons? Frankly, they flatter more body types than low or mid-rise trousers. Don't believe me? Just check out these images. Also, they're comfortable no matter if you sit or stand. It's the case even more so if you wear suspenders. Why? Well, you can keep the pants wider, and even if you have a big lunch or a big dinner, the pants will always be comfortable, but always be at the right height. They won't just slip down. Now, on the topic of eating, if you haven't already, I'm sure you'd also enjoy our dining etiquette series. High-rise trousers also have an improved drape and what some call a timeless fit and silhouette. If you want to learn more about high-rise trousers, how they came to popularity, and so forth, please leave a comment below. Now, what caused the decline in popularity of high-rise trousers? And when did it start? It's hard to exactly pinpoint a moment in time, but it seems like after World War II, men started to wear different options other than high-rise trousers, especially in tandem with a slim and short styling of the 2010s. We now have mostly mid or even low-rise trousers for men. I mean, over time, high-rise didn't vanish completely. There was a brief resurgence in the 1980s with the power suit style, but it didn't really catch on. Lately, we've seen a resurgence in the high-rise trouser trends with people who are close aficionados. But really, this is more of a niche phenomenon and not something we see on the large scale. So what exactly led to the decline of high-rise trousers after World War II? Well, for one, we had fabric rationing and fashion fluctuations that started during World War II. During the war, materials that were helpful to the war effort were rationed. And if you had big pleats, wide Oxford bags, that didn't make sense. So the fashion changed to have trousers that had no pleats, were slimmer, and had a lower rise. As it has often happened in the past during wartime, the changes that were made during a certain period just stuck with men and they never looked back. Now, for fabric though, because people had to ration everything, there was the opposite phenomenon. We saw a post-World War II splurge on excessive fabrics in menswear. Think of the double-breasted suits with the very wide lapels. More than even 2 pleats, broad ties, extra padding, and of course, very high-rise trousers. Often these were showy ensembles, also known as victory suits. Like with most fads and fashion trends, this one fizzled. The extreme but very temporary nature of this look probably directly contributed to the popularity of lower-rise trousers. Probably the second reason why high-rise trousers fell out of favor was the upgrade of the dress shirt. The post-war years saw a culmination of sartorial styles that were started decades earlier. Up until the 1920s and maybe early 30s, it was highly unusual for a well-dressed man to be in public with just his dress shirt on. Culturally, it was considered improper, just like if you would wear just your underwear in public today. I mean, if you're a regular of the channel, you've probably seen me in my underwear. Scandalous! Yes, that was the cultural norm back then, just like you wouldn't leave the house without a hat on. And yes, we also made a video about that. Typically, men would cover their dress shirts with a waistcoat or a vest. They would keep on their jackets and often kept them buttoned. At the time, most dress shirts were more simple. Collars were typically white. Shirts were striped, often in pastel colors. They were maybe solids or had smaller micro patterns. Throughout the 1940s, 50s, and 60s, this prohibition relaxed, and men would start wearing and showing more of their dress shirt. Hand in hand with the development, dress shirts became bolder, more colorful, sometimes with more exotic patterns. This inspired a trend of the sport shirt, which was often worn without a jacket. In line with improved manufacturing capabilities came a lower price, which meant in turn these new shirts were more affordable to the everyman. Obviously, a high-rise trouser covers up more of your shirt than a low-rise trousers, and so due to that shift in style, the high-rise trouser fell more out of favor. Now, try saying that 3 times. Due to the shift in shirt styles. Due to the shift in shirt styles. Due to the shift in shirt styles. Faster. A third reason was probably that overall, athletics were now more emphasized than ever before in history. Starting in the 1950s, there was a craze for athleticism, and men now would go to the gym, at least in the US. Once you'd engage in regimented exercise and looked like one of the pro bodybuilders of the time, Charles Atlas, you wanted to show off your newly gained physique, and that seemed easier in low-rise trousers. It was almost like people believed that a highly structured garment was hiding part of your body. And honestly, it's true. Tailoring always tried to hide less favorable sides of your body and highlight your attractive parts. High-rise trousers basically covered your stomach, and that was great if you wanted to hide your belly, but not great if you wanted to show off your six-pack. So lower-rise trousers soon became tangentially related to working out, exercising, and having a fit, toned physique. Basically, it's not unlike athleisure clothing today. There's a strong correlation between people working out and toning and sculpting their body and the type of clothes they wear. A fourth reason why high-rise trousers fell out of favor was that a new jacket trend was about to emerge. If you compare the silhouette of the suit over time, you can clearly see a big difference between a 1930s suit and a 1950s or 1960s suit. By the way, if you want to learn more about the history of the suit and really dive into the details, we got you covered. At the time, not only did the lapels got skinnier, but overall, the silhouette was trimmed a little more. You could now see quarters that opened on single-breasted jackets, which exposed more of your pants. That in turn led to the visual illusion of a longer leg line. Maybe to some, this new style of jacket felt a bit incongruous with a high-rise style of trousers. Why is that, you might think? Well, high-rise trousers were often cut for slightly different proportions and purposes. Because there was more fabric and everything was a bit more relaxed, it worked better with a jacket that had a little bit of give rather than with a jacket that was rather trim. Now, in my mind, that was a bit of a fallacy because you can have very slim-cut high-rise trousers. But maybe the high-rise trousers people had in their closets at home just didn't work with a new style of jacket. Maybe people felt that proportions were off with a slimmer jacket and a roomier bottom. Basically, it was a clash of silhouettes. Really, it's like today if you wear hammer pants.
Can't touch this.
The fifth reason lower-rise trousers became more popular and high-rise trousers fell out of favor was the emergence or the popularity of the belt. Around the same time lower-rise trousers came into favor, the belt became more popular than the traditional suspender or braces. To learn more details about that, we got the video on why men started wearing belts in the first place. Now, while suspenders work really well with high-rise trousers, there are some challenges with lower-rise trousers. Namely, feeling the suspenders lower on your body is less comfortable. You also have a longer distance of the suspender on your body, which can lead to more wrinkles and just doesn't look quite as nice. Of course, younger men also wanted to look different than their fathers and grandfathers. And so if they wore the suspenders with a high rise, they wanted something entirely different. And the low-rise trousers with a belt was just that. All that being said, belts are perfectly suited to high-rise trousers, mid-rise trousers, and low-rise trousers. I also believe that the casualization of menswear definitely contributed to the decline of the high-rise trouser. Obviously, things like the t-shirt emerged, and jeans, chinos, sometimes even Bermudas or shorts, which was not something most men wore 50 years earlier. Casual trousers really evolved from a sporting trouser, and so some men felt that a lower rise felt more agile in their movements. Frankly, I don't really see that point. Maybe only if your rise is too low and not properly fitted will you have a different sense of movement. After all, look at the old tennis pants when people still wore those white flannel pants. They were all high-rise and they got around on court perfectly normal. Now, once you're used to a certain trouser style, you really become accustomed to how it feels. And I can attest to that myself. I wear high-rise trousers now, and if I switch to low-rise or mid-rise, something just feels odd. So once men started wearing more sporting or casual low-rise trousers, they probably also felt that high-rise trousers now were just awkward. That being said, not all high-rise trousers in the world today are cut the same, and some will look better than others on you, depending on the specific rise. Personally, I have no issues wearing high-rise trousers with a shirt, but for some people, it may look odd as it shortens your upper body visually and increases your leg line. So if you naturally have long legs and a short torso, you don't want to accentuate that look using a high-rise pair of trousers. Now I find that a contrasting belt on any type of trouser, but particularly a high-rise trouser, can look very attractive because it visually separates the upper part from the lower part. But as always, you have to work with what you have. For example, I'm 6'1" or 185 centimeters tall. However, my inseam is just about 31 inches. That means I have a long torso and relatively short legs. So for me, a high-rise pair of trousers in a full cut that accommodates my big bum and my big thighs is the perfect solution. For you, it may not be the case if you have super long legs and a short torso. So on that note, in today's outfit, I'm wearing a high-rise pair of trousers in a more casual ensemble. It starts out with a wool bomber-style jacket from Paul Ralph Lauren that's probably from the 80s or 90s. I don't know exactly, I got it vintage on eBay. The shirt is a classic Oxford cloth button-down from Mercer in the US. My pants are golden wrought yellow corduroys that are high-waisted, flat front with belt loops and a ticket pocket from Fort Belvedere. They come in 14 colors and you can find them in our shop. It's a beautiful Italian-made corduroy that's meant to last but is soft at the same time. The belt I'm wearing with it is a brown calf suede belt that works well with my brown calf suede Chelsea boots. They're from Loken, the 1880 series. The belt is part of a system, so you can exchange the buckles with the belts from Fort Belvedere, and you can also find it in our shop. The socks are also from Fort Belvedere. There are navy and yellow socks that pick up the colors of the jacket and tie the shoes and the pants together. Last but not least, I'm wearing a pinky ring in solid gold with a crest that I found on a recent trip to Vienna. I think the seventh reason for the decline of the high-rise trouser was a fashion trend and also a bit of an economic consideration of what sells more. I mean, just think about it. As more men tried out lower-rise trousers in the 50s and 60s, from a manufacturer's point of view, that's something that makes you extremely happy. Because if you have high-rise trousers and you want to change something, well, here's a different product. You have to buy a new product, even though the old ones may be perfectly in good shape and have plenty of life left in them. It's similar to the jacket. Sometimes you have single button jackets, then 2 buttons, 3 buttons, sometimes 4 and 5 buttons, and then it goes the other way again, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's basically an ebb and flow in fashions. Things come back in a slightly altered form, but there's always an ebb and a flow. Now at the time, the more widespread adoption of central heating also led men to demand lighter weight fabrics. Now, there was a time, when it was cold inside and you needed every layer you could get, but that was no longer necessary. Now, modern, more lightweight fabrics are definitely something that most people aspire to, especially as temperatures go up globally. That being said, a lightweight fabric never drapes as well or tailors as well as a heavier weight fabric. Even if you take the exact same pattern and you tailor it with a heavy tweed fabric, it may look perfect. But then if you use that same pattern and you tailor it with a really lightweight fabric, it will just wrinkle more and everything is imperfect. And frankly, if you want to test the quality of a tailor, go to them and have them work with a really lightweight fabric. If they nail that, anything heavier is going to be a piece of cake. By the way, your tailor will probably hate you for it, so don't tell him I shared that with you. Generally, high-rise trousers drape better than lower-rise trousers because you have the waist on which the trouser more or less hangs. And because of that, I think they look better in heavier weight fabrics, but you can also find really great high-rise trousers in lightweight seersucker fabrics, linen fabrics, and so forth. Just think of Gurkha trousers, for example, and we got an entire video about them. It's traditionally a summer trouser that is really high-rise. Last but not least, there were certainly more negative perceptions around the high-rise trousers. If you look at the 50s, and the Mad Men style, there was also the mod style, it was more trim cut. The 60s were neater, narrower, crisper, and an intentional contrast to the more voluptuous 30s suits. Clothes have always fallen in and out of favor, but not since the tailcoat had a garment in menswear fallen from grace as much as the high-rise pair of trousers. Maybe men who wore high-rise trousers were looked as being old, not modern, not able to adapt, and maybe they lost the promotion because of that. Maybe just in their head, I don't know. But probably all those things contributed to the rise of the low-rise trouser. Maybe high-rise trousers were associated with being old and low-rise trousers with being youthful, dynamic, and future-facing. Through the 70s, high-rise trousers were increasingly unpopular. You had more of the bell-bottom or boot cut, even on suits, but they were typically lower rise. Yes, there was the brief resurgence of the power suit and the higher rise, but it was rather short-lived. Growing up in the 80s and 90s, I can't remember ever having seen a man with a high-rise pair of trousers. Except maybe if they were nerdy or uncool. Now, fortunately, I'd say in recent years, I've seen a lot more men, especially people interested in classic men's style, wearing high-rise trousers again because they appreciate the drape, the comfort, and the elegant leg line. So while high-rise trousers no longer dominate menswear in general, they are a favorite with people in the know. Frankly, one of the reasons we introduced high-rise trousers at For the Belvedere was the fact that they're really hard to come by otherwise. I was looking for nice corduroy trousers, and they all had a low or a mid-rise, and they just didn't fit me and my silhouette. So I had to come up with designs, and create a style that is really timeless and hails from the golden age of menswear. And yes, we created roomier cuts for larger sizes, but if you're on the slimmer end, we fully realize that a super wide pant leg doesn't look quite attractive. Fortunately, we have slim guys in our team like Jack and Preston, and so we could really hone in our patterns on the slimmer sizes so you get something that looks attractive. Normally, that's not the case, right? Either a pair of pants fits a guy who is bigger and has bigger thighs, but then not guys who are slimmer, and the slimmer guys buy something that the bigger guys can't buy. We try to get the best of both worlds when designing those pants, so no matter what your size is, you get something that works for you. That being said, I sure hope that high-rise trousers will become more popular on the mainstream, so just more men have a chance to experience it so they can then make their own decision on whether they want high, medium, or low-rise trousers.